Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here. In today's video, I'm going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings for Friday, February the 3rd. We do have an 8-game Friday night slate, so decent sized slate for Friday, guys. We're going to go game by game. We're going to give a quick breakdown of this 8-game slate, what I do like, taking a first look on Thursday night. But as always, before we do get started with the breakdown, if you guys do enjoy these DFS videos and if they do help you out, please hit that like button down below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. And if you guys are new to the channel and if you have never checked out PrizePicks before, PrizePicks is the sponsor of this video. You guys can sign up for PrizePicks and use my promo code Noah. You will get your first deposit matched up to $100 when you do sign up for PrizePicks with my promo code. And for those of you that have never heard about PrizePicks, they're a player prop site. So it's a little bit different than Draftkings and FanDuel and Yahoo. On those sites, you're building out a lineup, you're entering contests, you're competing against other lineups. Well, on PrizePicks, you're building out an entry and you're just kind of, you're competing against their projections. So they have projections posted already for some of Friday's games. You can see some of the points props they have. If you see a line that you think is too high or too low, you just take more or less on a player's projection. And you can make, or you have to make at least 2 picks, but you can make up to 6 picks and you can win up to 25x your money on PrizePicks. So if you guys are not signed up over there, get signed up, use that promo code Noah, and you will get your first deposit matched up to $100 when you do sign up with my promo code. But let's go ahead and talk through this Friday night slate. We'll start off with the first game of the night, the Blazers and the Wizards. So we'll start off on the Portland side. We do have some injury news to talk about from Portland. Jeremy Grant questionable for this game, and Jusuf Nurkic has already been ruled out. So with Nurkic out, clearly the biggest beneficiary here is going to be Drew Eubanks. I'm expecting Eubanks to start in place of Nurkic. Eubanks been pretty good on a per-minute basis whenever he's gotten playing time this season. He's been like a fantasy point-per-minute player. I would think if he's starting, he's going to play close to 30 minutes, maybe high 20s. So at 3,800, Drew Eubanks is a really good value. I have a lot of interest in him on this slate. And then with Jeremy Grant questionable, if he were to get ruled out, I think that's a little boost for, kind of everyone. I think Dame, Anthony Simons, Josh Hart all get a little boost. I would assume that if Grant is out, we probably see Nasir Little start, but I think there's a lot of guys they could go to. They could go small and play like Shaedon Sharpe. I doubt they do that, but they could. They could maybe start like Trenton Watford. But I think most likely it would be Little getting the start in place of Grant. Little's cheap, so if you want to go there for value, he is. Where is he at? 3,400. He's a guy that, not the best permanent producer, but I would think if he's starting, probably plays about 30 minutes, and at 3,400, he would definitely be in play. Now, looking at the rest of the Portland guys, Damian Lillard just been on an absolute tear lately. He's really expensive, 10,600, but he's playing huge minutes right now. He's got a great role. He's taking 20-plus shots a game. Obviously, without Grant, if he were to be out, and without Nurkic too, we can expect an even bigger role for Dame here. And I don't think the Wizards really have anyone to slow down Dame. So I think Dame's firmly in play today. Simons at 6'5", I think is okay. I'd like him a little bit more if Grant were to be out, but Grant and Simons, neither one stand out on this slate. And then we talked about who benefits with Nurkic out. Josh Hart at 5,200 is okay, but Josh Hart, a guy that really has not shown much of a ceiling this year. He's been a pretty low usage player. He has to get there. Like when he has a good game, it's usually because he gets rebounds, he'll get some assists. He's not been scoring a ton this year. He's not been taking a ton of shots either, so his ceiling is somewhat low. I don't think on this slate I'm really going to be looking at Josh Hart, but if Jeremy Grant sits, I think that benefits Hart a little bit. But that'll do it for that game. Let's talk about, or for at least the first side of that game. Now let's talk about the other side with the Wizards. There's really not much I like on the Wizards today. They're pretty much fully healthy. Porzingis, Kuzma, Beal are all healthy. They're supposed to be, they're going to be getting Daniel Gafford back. So, don't see much on the Wizards I'm looking to. Porzingis and Kuzma, where they're priced at, neither one stand out to me. Beal has kind of been finding his groove lately, back-to-back, or he had a good game against San Antonio. I thought he had a good game before that, but I guess I was wrong. I forgot that Pistons game actually got postponed. But Beal had a good game last time he played against San Antonio. This matchup against Portland, I think it's okay, so I don't mind Beal, but yeah, I'm not seeing too much from the Wizards here. Nothing really stands out from Washington. Most of my interest in this game is coming on the Portland side. So let's go ahead and move on to the next game, Sacramento and Indiana. This is another one that's going to be worth targeting. Two teams that play relatively fast. This game should be really high scoring. We'll start off on the Indiana side. Indiana is on the second night of a back-to-back. We're definitely going to have to monitor their injury report. Tyrese Halliburton made his return from injury on Thursday night against the Lakers, and he played really well. I can't remember exactly how many minutes he played, but I think he got pretty much full minutes. He had a really good game against the Lakers. Good matchup here against Sacramento. Obviously, revenge game for Halliburton as well. Assuming he's full go again and he's gonna play his full minutes, I think at 9,200, Halliburton is fine on this slate. I don't have an issue going there. I think Miles Turner at 7,500 feels priced about right, but it's fine. The rest of Indiana, though, I'm pretty much off of everyone else here, especially now that Halliburton is back. And then on the other side with Sacramento, so big news from Sacramento today is no De'Aaron Fox. So without De'Aaron Fox, we can expect a really, really big role for Domantas Sabonis. Revenge game for Sabonis as well. This is also a great matchup. The Pacers have been getting killed by bigs this season. We saw Anthony Davis have a huge game against Indiana on Thursday. I think this sets up as a really good spot for Sabonis. And we've seen lately Sabonis just stuffing the stat sheet, scoring, rebounding, getting assists as well. He's got triple-double upside pretty much every night he steps on the court. And a really good matchup with all the usage to himself, with more, just facilitating, or with him, facilitating more without Fox. Like, I would not be surprised to see a triple-double from Sabonis here. So Sabonis, one of my favorite pay-up options today. I like him a ton. And then the rest of Sacramento, I mean, all these guys, Herter, Barnes, Keegan Murray, Malik Monk, they all get a little bit of a boost without De'Aaron Fox. I think of all these, my favorite is probably Malik Monk, even though he's going to come off the bench. He's been playing good minutes lately. He's been really productive, and we know he is a guy that can soak up usage, will take a lot of shots, and clearly without Fox, there's going to be a lot of usage available. So I think Monk looks really good. I think Barnes, Herter, and Murray are all solid as well. I don't have an issue with any of them. And then value-wise, for super cheap, I do want to talk about Davion Mitchell. Davion Mitchell, I'm pretty sure his minimum salary, he is $3,000. Yes, $3,000. I'm expecting him to start in place of De'Aaron Fox. Now, this season in the games that he has started, I don't think he's been that great. Like, I think there's been a couple games, like 2 or 3 games this year where Mitchell has started in place of Fox, and he's been pretty underwhelming. But 3K, really good matchup against Indiana, fast-paced game. I mean, even though he's kind of been disappointing as a starter this season, I think Davion Mitchell is a really good value here, assuming that he does start in place of Fox, which he should. I do like him a ton for value, so there's a lot to like on Sacramento. Definitely favorite plays here are Sabonis, Monk, and Mitchell. But I think Murray, I think Harrison Barnes, Kevin Herter, those guys are viable plays as well in the mid-range. But lots to like in that game. Let's move on to the next one, Charlotte and Detroit. Another kind of appealing game to target. Two teams that don't play much defense. Two of the worst defensive teams in the league going up against each other. So this is a really good spot kind of on both sides. On the Charlotte side, LaMelo, I think, is in a really good spot here against Detroit. We've seen Detroit get killed by point guards this season. LaMelo been playing massive minutes lately. Got 40 minutes against Milwaukee. Played huge minutes on Thursday against Chicago. Did get ejected late in that game, but I don't think that's going to impact his status for today. So getting full minutes from LaMelo now at 9,700, even at this price tag, I think in this matchup, LaMelo sets up as a really good play here. Definitely have interest in him. The rest of Charlotte, though, like Terry Rozier at 8K, I'll probably pass on Rozier at 8K. Plumlee at 6,700, I'll probably pass on as well. It's really LaMelo is the guy that stands out most from the Hornets. Gordon Hayward's kind of cheap, and his minutes have kind of been trending up. I kind of liked him for Thursday's slate just because it was, there wasn't a ton of value on Thursday's slate. I have a feeling there's going to be more value today. Plus, it's an 8-gamer, so don't think I'm going to go to Gordon Hayward today, but at least did want to mention him just because he is starting to get more minutes. I think he played like 27, 28 minutes on Thursday against the Bulls. He's been playing about 26, 28 minutes a night. If this is the game that he finally gets like over 30 minutes, 5,300 is definitely cheap for Hayward if we can get like 30 minutes from him. But again, 8-game slate, other standout values. I don't think he's like a core option for me. For sure, LaMelo is my favorite play on Charlotte. Now on the Detroit side, I mean, really good matchup for these Detroit guys. I've kind of been avoiding Detroit lately, not a spot I really like to target, but man, Bojan Bogdanovic against this Charlotte team I think is fine. Charlotte plays fast, so I think this sets up as a really good matchup for Bojan. We know he's going to be kind of the lead usage guy, going to take most of the shots on offense. Minutes are going to be really good as well, assuming this game is competitive, so I do have interest in Bojan. Then Jaden Ivey, Sadiq Bey, they're fine as well. Not neither one stand out at their price tags though. The guy that I really like from Detroit is Jalen Duren. We've seen Charlotte give up huge games to centers this season. I know the matchup here is one that I think Duren can have a lot of success in. Put up a really big game against Charlotte earlier this year, had 38 Draftkings points in 36 minutes. Charlotte's been really bad on the glass, and we saw Duren grab 19 rebounds last time he faced the Hornets. So really good spot for Duren here. 5,400 is not super expensive. He's definitely my favorite play on Detroit, followed by Bojan, and then I don't mind Alec Burks either. Alec Burks has been starting lately, been playing about 30 minutes. I think he's a fine play as well at 5,100. But that'll do it for that game. I think that's everything to like there. So let's move on to the next game, Phoenix and Boston. So looking at the Boston side, I don't like a ton in this game. I mean, this should be a fun game to watch, but for DFS purposes, it's not going to be a game I get super invested in. Tatum and Brown, where they're priced at, both feel priced about right. I know Tatum's had some big games lately, but I don't love this matchup against Phoenix. I also think the 11K price tag is one that, at this price tag, I'm not like running to roster Tatum. Brown's coming in a little bit discounted, but, even in a matchup against Phoenix, he's not a guy that I have a ton of interest in. The rest of Boston, like Brogdon, Derek White, Robert Williams, none of these guys really stand out to me. It's just not the best spot here, not a game I really want to get super invested in. And then on the Phoenix side, Phoenix is still a little bit shorthanded without Devin Booker, so we can expect a big role for Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton, but not the greatest spot for Chris Paul. I think it's a GPP option. He's fine. He was horrible last game against Atlanta, played 27 minutes and had 11 Draftkings points, but I don't think on this slate I'm going to be really going to Chris Paul. I'd expect him to bounce back here, have a better game, but he's not someone that I'm really interested in today. DeAndre Ayton's been really good lately, but this matchup against Boston is one that I don't really like targeting, so I'm probably going to pass on Ayton. Probably going to pass on like the rest of this game. I mean, no one else on Phoenix really stands out. Mikal Bridges, where he's priced at, Cam Johnson, these are guys I'm not really looking to on an 8-game slate, I don't think. So let's go ahead and move on to the next game, Orlando and Minnesota. So on the Minnesota side, we got to keep an eye on the status of Rudy Gobert. Gobert was actually ruled out last game, surprisingly. He's been questionable for like the last 5 or 6 games, and he's played all the games except last game. They actually did rule him out like 30 minutes before the game started, which was really unexpected. So we're definitely going to have to keep an eye on this. If Gobert plays, I think at 6,800, he's a fine option. I have no issue going there. If Gobert is out, then Naz Reid becomes a great value play. We saw Naz Reid crush as a starter last game, played 35 minutes, had 52 draft points. He's been really good on a point-per-minute basis this season. 4,800 is way too cheap for Naz Reid if he starts again. So whichever guy starts the center for Minnesota, I have interest in. And then the rest of Minnesota, Anthony Edwards at 9,900, I think is fine here. Matchup's pretty solid. Orlando's not the greatest defensive team. The price tag on Edwards is starting to get to a point where, now that he's 9,900, you need like 55, 60 DraftKings points from him to be worth the salary. But he's been putting up those type of games lately. Usage has been great without Karl-Anthony Towns. Minutes have been really good as well. So I think on this slate, Edwards is fine. Not a guy that I'm in love with, but I think he is in play. D'Angelo Russell has also been playing big minutes lately. Usage has been pretty good for him. I think at 7,200, he is a fine option as well. That's probably it for Minnesota, though. Guys like Kyle Anderson, Jaden McDaniels, I think in a scenario where Rudy Gobert is out again, I think those guys would benefit. But unless Gobert gets ruled out, I'm probably not going to either one of Anderson or McDaniels. Now on the Orlando side, I don't like too much on Orlando here. Paolo Banchero, going to have a big role. If this game's competitive, he's going to play big minutes. He's probably the one guy on the Magic that I think I would be interested in. But like Franz Wagner at 6K, Wendell Carter Jr. at 5,800, I'm probably going to pass on these guys. Same with like Markelle Fultz and Cole Anthony. I don't see too much I like on Orlando here. This is a team that I've kind of been avoiding lately. It really hasn't burned me either. I know Banchero's had some good games, but for the most part, this Orlando team, they've been running kind of a deep rotation. They've been playing a lot of guys. They've kind of been spreading out the minutes for the most part. So not a team I really want to be too invested in on an 8-game slate. So let's go ahead and move on to the next game, Toronto and Houston. So on the Toronto side, really, really good spot here for Toronto. Houston, we know, plays fast. They don't play a ton of defense. So Siakam, Van Vliet, I think are in pretty good spots. Siakam's been disappointing lately, but I feel like at some point he's going to have a big bounce-back game. And I think in this matchup against the Rockets, this is definitely a spot where Siakam could bounce back. So I do have some interest in Siakam today. Van Vliet's been crushing lately and gets a really good matchup here. We know that Houston gives up big games to point guards. They've been a really good matchup for point guards all season. Van Vliet, for what it's worth, had a really big game against Houston earlier this year. So I think it's a really good spot for Van Vliet. He's probably my favorite play on Toronto. But I think Scotty Barnes, Gary Trent, these guys are fine plays as well. Presta Achiuwa, minutes came down a little bit for Achiuwa, but he should continue to start in place of OG Anunoby. Should continue to play pretty good minutes. I don't mind Achiuwa at 6,100. But my favorite play from Toronto is definitely Fred VanVleet. Now, on the Houston side, we got to keep an eye on some news here. So no Kevin Porter Jr., no Jalen Green, and Jabari Smith is questionable. So this is pretty important. If Jabari Smith gets ruled out, I assume we would see Tari Eason start. And Tari Eason has been really good on a point-per-minute basis this season. I mean, last game against OKC, he literally averaged almost like 3 fantasy points per minute. He put up 48 DraftKings points in 19 minutes. Just absurd, usage. He took 21 shots in 19 minutes. I know some of his shots came from he had a scenario, or there was a sequence in the game where he had a putback. He kept going for a putback and he kept missing, and obviously each one of those count as a shot attempt. But man, he's been really good on a per minute basis this season. I'd assume if Jabari Smith is out, Tari Eason would start, would play probably 30 minutes, and even at 5,800, I would have interest in Tari Eason today. I think he would also benefit guys like KJ Martin a little bit, Eric Gordon a little bit. I think these guys look interesting anyway because without Jalen Green, without Kevin Porter Jr., there's a lot of usage available. We've seen Eric Gordon take on a bigger role lately, been really productive. Last 2 games, he's put up 37 DraftKings points. He's played 34 and 35 minutes. I think that's going to continue here. Matchup against Toronto, I don't love, but I think Gordon's going to have a big role without without KPJ, without Green. So I'm still interested in Gordon. I think KJ Martin is fine as well. And then Şengün gonna, pretty much be kind of the focal point on offense. Now, this matchup against Toronto, I don't love, but Şengün should play big minutes here, should have really good usage. Obviously, can facilitate, kind of like Domantas Sabonis. He's a guy that has triple-double upside, and we've seen, recently against Washington, Şengün had a triple-double in that game. So, $9K, kind of expensive, but I think Şengün has the upside to pay off this price tag. He is still a viable option for me. But that'll probably do it from Houston. I don't really see anything else on Houston I like besides the guys that we kind of talked about. Daishen Nick's been starting lately. Probably not a guy that I'm going to go to. Last game, he was actually kind of solid. Had 24 DK points in 33 minutes, but he's been a really bad per-minute producer this season. He averages like 0.6 DraftKings points per minute, and he's a really low-usage player. So on an 8-game slate, have a feeling there's going to be better value available than going to Daishen Nick's. But let's go ahead and talk about the last 2 games of the night. Philly and San Antonio. So for Philly today, once again, Joel Embiid is questionable for this game. Gonna have to monitor this one. I'm expecting Embiid to play. Embiid's been questionable for like their last, 5, 6, 7 games, and he's played every game. So expect Embiid to go. Really good spot here against San Antonio. I mean, San Antonio is going to have no answer for Embiid. San Antonio is already one of the worst defensive teams in the league, and obviously Embiid's in a great spot here. So I really like Embiid as a pay-up option. I think it's a great spot for Harden as well. It's just that on this slate, I think there's other guys I probably would rather go to over Harden. Like, I think I'd rather go to Sabonis for a little bit more salary, but Harden's fine as well. I think the matchup's definitely good for him. It feels pretty likely that one of Embiid or Harden has a good game here, if not, maybe both of them. The rest of Philly, though, probably going to pass on Tobias Harris, Tyrese Maxey, these guys. It's really just Harden and Embiid I like from Philly. And then on the San Antonio side, so there's a lot of injury news for San Antonio. They're still without Devin Vassell. They already ruled out Jeremy Sohan for this game, and Tre Jones is doubtful, I believe. Tre Jones is doubtful. So with no Sohan, without Tre Jones as well, going to be a lot of minutes available. Keldon Johnson, we can expect to have a really, really big role. I don't love this matchup against Philly, but Johnson should play big minutes here, should have pretty much the entire offense to himself. He's 7,300, which is not like super expensive, so I think Keldon Johnson is firmly in play. Jakob Poeltl should have to play a decent amount here. They're going to need his size against Embiid. But, man, I worry about foul trouble, man. Poeltl is a guy that always gets in foul trouble, it seems like. But if he can avoid foul trouble, we saw last game against Sacramento. He played 29 minutes. He had 40 DraftKings points. Poeltl's a really good per-minute producer. He's a guy that can score, rebound, he can get assists, he can get defensive stats when he's on the floor. He put up a pretty decent game against Philly early this year, 35 DK points in 27 minutes. So if you want to take the risk in GPPs, I think Poeltl has a really big ceiling as long as he can just avoid foul trouble. And if he can stay on the floor, I would not be surprised to see him put up 40-plus DraftKings points. So I do like Poeltl for tournaments. And then value-wise, Josh Richardson, I believe, did start the second half last game in place of Tre Jones. So I'm expecting Josh Richardson to start at point guard. If Josh Richardson does start at point guard, he's going to be a really good value play. We saw last game, played 29 minutes, had 36 DraftKings points. He's super cheap, good per-minute producer. Really like Josh Richardson today. And then who starts in place of Sohan? I'm not 100% sure. It could be like maybe Doug McDermott. It could be Malachi Branham. They've been starting KBD, so I think KBD, his minutes are going to be even more secure. He played 27 minutes last game. I think without Sohan now, we can expect him to probably play about 30 minutes. So I still think KBD is in play for value at 4,400. But yeah, whoever starts in place of Sohan, whether it's Branham, whether it's McDermott, maybe they go to Isaiah Roby. I can't remember who started the second half for Sohan. I think it was McDermott. I'm pretty sure it was him, but honestly, I can't remember. Whoever started the second half, I think it might have been Branham. Maybe it was Branham who did. Whoever started the second half for Sohan is probably going to start this game. If it was Branham, then yeah, he could be someone worth targeting for value. We're definitely going to have to pay attention to San Antonio's starting lineup here, but assuming that Josh Richardson starts at point guard, really like Josh Richardson for value. If a guy like Branham starts, he could be in play for value. I think KBD's in play for value. And then obviously Poeltl, if he can avoid foul trouble, I think has a lot of upside at his price tag. And Keldon Johnson, big time usage. Tougher matchup, but I think at 7,300, he's viable as well. So there's actually lots to like on the Spurs. I never get excited to play a lot of Spurs, but there's definitely Spurs you're going to have to target today. let's go ahead and talk about the last game of the night, Atlanta and Utah. We'll start off on the Atlanta side. I don't see too much I really like on Atlanta today. Trae Young at 9,400 feels priced about right for the spot against Utah. I really haven't been playing Trae Young much lately. He's not shown much of a ceiling. The last time he put up over 60 DraftKings points was, January 1st or January 2nd. It's been 2 months since Trae has, it's been 1 month since Trae has had over 60 DK points. And at 9,400, you kind of want him to put up like 60. Does he have 60 in him? Absolutely. He can put up 60 any night, but I think there's other guys I'd rather pay up for today. DeJounte Murray at 8,100, probably going to pass on him. Usually not super excited about Murray when he's priced where he is. And, in this spot against Utah, I don't see myself going to Murray. Really like the matchup for Clint Capella. We've seen Utah get killed by bigs this season. Capella did put up 45 DK points in only 26 minutes against the Jazz earlier this year. Capella's minutes have been pretty decent lately. In competitive games, he's been playing like close to 30 minutes. Obviously, last game against Phoenix was a blowout, but against OKC, 28, against the Clippers, 28, against Portland, 29. If we're getting 28, 29, 30 minutes from Capella here against this Utah team that has been a really good matchup for centers, I think Capella is probably my favorite play on the Hawks. If I had to go to anyone, he would be the first guy I would target. The rest of Atlanta, John Collins, Bogdan, DeAndre Hunter, probably going to pass on these guys. And on the Utah side, I don't like too much on Utah here. Lauri Markkanen's price tag has come down a good amount. So I think at 8,400, he is a viable option now. It was really tough to play Lauri Markkanen when he was like 9,500, 9,400. Now that he's 8,400, this is a much more appropriate price tag. So I think Markkanen is fine at 8,400. Jordan Clarkson at 6,400 feels priced about right. Walker Kessler still been playing decent minutes lately, even with Kelly Olynyk back. Had a big game last game. He feels priced about right at 5,800, but if they keep giving Kessler close to 30 minutes, we know he has the upside to pay off this price tag when he's playing nearly 30 minutes a night. And it seems like even with Olynyk back, like they're going to continue to give minutes to Kessler. I mean, Olynyk's not been playing too much lately, so yeah, I think Kessler's fine at 5,800. The rest of Utah, though, Conley, Beasley, Sexton, going to pass on these guys. And I think that'll do it for this Friday night slate, guys. For an 8-gamer, this should be another fun slate. I'm excited to watch some of these games. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Appreciate you watching. As always, make sure you hit that like button if you enjoyed. Hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. And if you guys are new to the channel, if you've never checked out PrizePicks before, PrizePicks is the sponsor of this video. You guys can sign up for PrizePicks. Use my promo code NOAH. You will get your first deposit matched up to $100 when you do sign up for PrizePicks with my promo code. Definitely check them out if you guys have not yet. But best of luck on this Friday night slate. Appreciate you guys watching the video. Hope you guys enjoy your Friday night, enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.